Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Beyond Expo panel on AI, biotech, and more, the future technology in personal health. Delighted to have two very experienced panelists here today doing exciting work in this field. Let's kick off with you, Yingrui. How are sort of digital life tools transforming the way that individuals can monitor their own health?
The first concept I would like to propose to everyone here is actually humans don't really understand our own life. I always use an example, like we take care of our cars. We know that we need to do some regular check on our cars, and we know we should do some preventional intervention to our cars. But we don't do that to our body. The issue comes from various aspects. The first thing is we don't know how to quantify human being in terms of health status. How do you know we are a healthy people or not? So currently, most of the medical care, they use benchmarks on diagnostics. That means if you really have a disease and you will get diagnosed. But that's like if you already have a car accident and you're talking about why is that. So I think the first thing that we need to solve is how we build up the technology stack that you can actually digitize, as we call it, digitize the human being, and can we actually replicate a digital twin in the computer space of our own life so that we can actually doing lots of trials within the computer space, and we can predict for our future in computer space. So that would make lots of changes in our daily life, because at that time, every decision we make in our daily life, like what to eat, like when to sleep, like what type of exercise we're doing, they will have a very, very solid database and also evidence on why you're doing that, how that would impact our health. So I think that's with that trend, I think we will have a very, very different way of life in the future, especially that we can prevent most of the chronic lung infectious disorders. So that currently when we say as you age, maybe you say the elder, we propose a number of elder, maybe it's 80 years old. I think in the future, I think we can still reserve much of our energy as at that type of age, and then probably we can easily get over 100 years of lifespan very easily.
And what kind of values are you using to sort of judge the success of this technology? I mean, have you got enough data there to really say that these are the metrics which are the benefits of employing some of these genomic techniques?
Yeah, it's not just genomics. Genetics is inherited from your parents. Generally speaking, the genetics won't change over time. However, we know that we are changing. So as we develop, as we get older, as we get some disease, and everyone knows that disease won't happen within one day. So it's a very, very long time of development. So how can we track that process? That's the issue for what we call the healthcare, not medical care. So currently, we have been running the program on over 20,000 individuals, and we know that if we spend resources on quantifying our own body, and we can do lots of the light interventions, that is the sleeping interventions, the exercise interventions, the nutritional intervention, the very, very light lifestyle changes, we can match the intervention on lots of the most of the chronic disordered controlling pills. So that's what we have achieved, because in lots of cases it's not patients, but our customers, they already get, for example, they get some liver deficiency, and due to the very, very long time use of certain drugs. And what they're asking is, can we still control, for example, control their blood pressure, control their blood glucose level without their therapeutics? Can we actually do that? And the answer is yes. So I'm pretty optimistic about that in the future, that everyone could live a relatively better life without steroid therapeutics. Yeah.
And Peter, Anakova is pioneering several advances when it comes to assisted reproductive health, particularly IVF. What are some of the technologies which are standing to transform the field?
I think that we are right now in an era where a lot going to be changed in fertility technologies. Because right now there is a lot of movement in AI in the field, which is the data is acquired from time-lapse systems. You culture the human embryos in time-lapse incubators. You can track their speed of development, number of cells, etc. And then you feed that into AI-assisted prediction system. But the field right now is all about selecting the embryos. So you have AIDS now, and I work for a company, Genea BiomedX in Sydney, that was founded back in 1986, long legacy in IVF. And they have developed an incubator that is the data acquisition platform. Excellent incubator. And all this data is crunched with AI to assist the embryologist to pick the right embryo to transfer back. And the problem is that the root cause of most problems when it comes to human reproduction is the age of the eggs. So as the women ages, get closer to menopause, the quality of the eggs goes down. So the reason why we have so many patients in IVF and why the market is growing tremendously is just because women wait too long, which relates back to the ovarian physiology. But right now where we are is using this technology to select the right embryo to transfer. But then when I was listening to you, I think in the future, and I think we are in a turning point now, where you will also integrate other data, because it's all about, we all know that reproduction is influenced by lifestyle. We know that smoking, drinking, drugs is not good. And people have so many different lifestyles. And all this information, stress, for example, if you look in biology, animals don't breed when they're completely stressed. You have to have a good environment, good nutrition, etc. Then the reproductive system works. And I think we are at the stage now where all this information, background information about the patient, including epigenetics, is not just about the code and looking for mutations. It's about epigenetics and see how we can increase the success rate by conditioning the patients before it actually goes into IVF treatment.
So I totally agree. So again, the dynamics is very, very important. Like the epigenetics, like the RNA profile, and the like a protein expression, and also immunity, and lots of them can reflect like a stress. So the problem previously is that except for genomics, most of the biological molecules, you don't have a way to do a large-scale screening. Even for the cells you can do, you don't have many high-throughput biological tools to doing this large-scale screening. But now it's quite a time that we believe we already have all these technology stacks ready to do the high-throughput biological data on multiple layers of cells, from multiple layers of organs, that we should be able to quantify that. I have a very interesting course study on learning it's actually the personalized optimal age for for the females to give their eggs, because actually there are some variation on the what we call the degeneration of the ovary. So that type of things can be predictable from your multiple what we call the multi-omics data, and with some tracking, you will know that, and that will help people to make the right decision. Yeah.
That's extremely important technology, what you have said, because I think in the future, you will have to consult patients and you have to do a proper workup. So, for example, look at one of the big new things in our field, and that is social egg freezing, with the purpose of preserving fertility for a woman who don't or can't have a child at that particular time. So you basically freeze down the eggs when the woman is young, but in order to consult, to give them advice, you must have data. And in the industry, what is typical now is that you measure a hormone called AMH. Yeah. And that is supposed to be a predictor of the so-called ovarian reserve, how many eggs you have left. Yeah. And then they tell the patient that, okay, your AMH level is low, so you have to go and freeze your eggs immediately. But it's just one marker. If you have all the data that you're working on, that will be much, much better for the patients.
Exactly. So our idea is that biological systems they are highly interconnected. So all the features that we are trying to measure, they are actually have some networking effects. So that the system's prediction is better than the single or a few markers prediction. I think that is like as ovary degeneration is just one type of what we are calling it like aging. It's an aging process. But my belief is that for every dimension of what we can say as an aging process, I think we will have very, very similar paradigm here, and we should be able to work in a similar way that we can quantifying, we can actually intervene, we can actually slow down the process of the aging process. That's a goal.
And the key, what you mentioned, is individualized treatment, individualized and personalization. That's a kind of a buzzword in medicine. But when it comes to reproduction, it's extremely important, because if you look at AMH, which is the common marker, if you look at the cutoff, when you actually say that you have a low ovarian reserve, now you can also do ultrasounds. You measure the resting follicles and get a follicle count. So you can, by these two parameters, you can kind of predict. But the issue with AMH is, like everything else in biology, is that it's a huge individual variation, and all these cutoffs are based on population studies. But if you look at the data, one woman can start high and then fall drastically. That's much severe, but another woman can start low and fall a little, and they have the same data. So there's much more to do in this field.
Yes, but there are some. I think there are still some mindset difference. I think it's currently for the diagnostics, when they set up the so-called low range, or in the therapeutics development field, we have a clinical trial. The underneath assumption is that humans are actually similar to each other. We are similar to each other, but still, if we really talk about the healthcare, we have to know that actually people are very, very different from each other, and we have totally different profile in lots of different dimensions. So I think it's very important for the health industry to build up a relatively independent paradigm of how R&D should happen in the health field rather than the medical cares. So, yeah.
And I mean, both of what you do involves collecting a huge amount of personalized information on patients. So what are some of the ethical concerns? Because obviously when we're dealing with health insurance or other government data, there are potential repercussions if all this data is widely known. I mean, and how do you protect patient data and make sure that they are safeguarded?
There are actually two levels of the what we call the regulation, like data privacy. It's a very sensitive thing. Basically, you're trying to predict people's future, right? The first layer is actually you have to protect the personal data on a technical level. So we build up this infrastructure so that everyone keep their own data on their own devices. But the model that we are training, the machine learning stuff, is actually running upon their data. So the data, the model is actually separated. It's a different thing. So lots of the infrastructures in the healthcare industry, they have a very different computing infrastructure, and because it has to fit the need for the personal data conservation, and also to fit the need for the regulatory committee, and also you have to keep improving model so that you can always deliver the best, not necessarily best, but best at that time, right? Best practice, best potential practice to the customers. And you also want to get your personal feedbacks so that they shouldn't be very passive. So all of this, I think, so we spend lots of time on how we develop this infrastructure on that. But still, people would be concerning of that. I think this is also about the public education. Currently, I think most of people, they use their GPS, right? When you're doing a GPS, you're actually sharing your personal location. It's still some type of personal data, but as it helps you to get the right direction to your endpoint. It's pretty much similar in the healthcare industry. Yeah.
And Peter, I mean, assisted reproductive health is a sensitive issue for many jurisdictions, and there's different rules. Some places it's illegal to freeze eggs, other places have restrictions on IVF, which leads to a boom in medical tourism. What are some of the benefits and the challenges there when it comes to IVF between different locations and people traveling to get this kind of help?
First of all, there are benefits for the individuals because they can go to another country to get a lower cost. A lot of medical tourism is driven by cost, and then it's for legal reasons. But it's also for technological reasons, because in certain countries you may have high-tech technology that is not available in your home country. So there are many reasons. The downside is, of course, that, and then continuing from what you just said, is that you can go to another country also for privacy and confidentiality. You want to get away because, for various reasons. So there are many reasons why people travel for medical care. On the downside is, of course, that you can run into legal, in terms of reproduction. It's a very, very sensitive topics. For example, if you go to another country for surrogacy, where you can actually bring home your child and they become legally your child. There's a lot of barriers on that. And then, of course, you can very easily be commercially exploited for whatever reason. And let's say something goes wrong, there's medical complications, and you have, problem to get, compensation and so forth. So it's a lot of problems, but there is an enormous traffic of people going cross-border, even in Europe. Just within the European Union, you have so many different legal situations. So, for example, in Ireland and Poland, it's extremely strict because of the Catholic religion, whereas in France, it's very liberal, for example, and the UK. So it's a big patchwork of legal framework for reproduction.
And Yingrui, when you're analyzing the data to make your sort of predictions about people's health and everything, I mean, I imagine you use AI as a big part of that.
Yeah.
But how transparent are these calculations? Are you able to really delve into them and know how AI is crunching the data and drawing the sort of the links between to make these predictions? Or I mean, is there that sense of transparency you can provide to the patient or your clients?
We cannot go back to our clients. Simply, we can only go back to their IDs. So there are two things. So for all this type of medical care or healthcare, so there are ones that are providing the solution. There are ones who really do the practice. So typically, we actually give this our feedback just to the practice team that they really know who they should go back. It's kind of very important. It's also make kind of a wall to us to make us obligatory to the all the legal stuff. So another thing is that in the world of biology, typically you cannot simply rely on pure AI, put it this way. So the biology system is, in my mind, is still more complicated comparing to most of the issues that people believe that AI could solve today. Our experiments is that we still need some type of real biomedical experiments to do some validation, so that I still believe that AI is just part of the whole thing. It's still a smart tool. It's a great efficient tool for all of us. But the core, for the final core, is still the biology and biomedical people.
And for both of you, you've talked a little bit about the advances which you're putting out at the moment, but in 5-10 years' time, what do you think of the next great advances for personal health, which people will be embracing in a decade's time?
The next big thing. Well, I think that there are certain problems with assisted reproduction. We talked about legal problems, etc., commercial problems. People can very easily be exploited by unserious professionals. But I would say that the most important thing right now are the ethical aspects, because technology is advancing tremendously. We have AI, more decision-making tools available. We get more and more information. We store more and more information. And what if this information gets into the wrong hands? I mean, can you imagine if you know everything about the body and it gets into the hands of a private healthcare company? They may kick you out from the healthcare coverage because you're a high risk. And when it comes to reproduction, I would like to say that it's extremely important that that we have a public discussion, that the public is aware of that, because technology goes really quick. Now we have gene editing also. The technology is there. We can very easily manipulate embryos to manipulate the genes in the embryo. And we have to make sure that we keep this in check and that we have a public debate. Because like I said, where we are right now, we are not there yet, but we are moving at high speed in that direction. Where we are right now is that we do embryo selection. So we recover the eggs from the ovary, we fertilize the eggs, we grow them for 5 days, and we pick out the best embryos. But in order to improve the success rate, we have to do genetic screening of the embryos, basically to sort out aneuploidies, because we know they are not viable. If you have the wrong number of chromosomes, there's no way you can have them implant. But we also have to consider looking for other, because now we can do deep sequencing. We can look at everything, basically. So we can start sorting out embryos based on traits, for example. And that's a scenario that we really have to talk about in public. I don't know, I mean, you work as a journalist, right? A correspondent, so maybe you can say something about that.
Well, yeah, certainly the ethical concerns are something which is constantly being talked about. But as the technology goes forward, I know there's also been a rise in so-called natural IVF or mild IVF. Do you think that is compatible, or the people are turning away from the latest advances in technology a little bit, that they want something which works but is not quite as invasive or so sort of futuristic?
Yeah, I think it's a very good approach. First of all, it can lower the side effects a lot, because a hard ovarian stimulation it's pretty tough for the woman. So I'm fully on board with mild IVF treatments. But what we have to keep in mind, and there is a lot of data, of course, people debate back and forth, is that if you do minimalistic IVF, you have to try. So you have to increase the number of attempts to reach the same success rate. So it's a trade-off, but it's also, we already now have a trade-off. I mean, for example, when we do IVF, it's very common, especially in the United States, that you do pre-implantation genetic testing. So you know that the embryo you transfer is not aneuploid. It's as normal as it can be. But then you have a possibility to start sorting embryos also, and that's the key problem right now.
And Yingrui, I know a lot of the people here will be thinking about investing in healthcare solutions and the latest technology. I mean, some of the key metrics you think they should look out for when they're looking at some of the latest advances and thinking about what technology might be widely adopted in the future?
First of all, I would like to clarify. In our real commercial practice, I would say that health is actually not a need for most of the human. So we are worried about, we probably will be worried about death. We are probably worried about disease. But typically, what human would do is they violate most of the rules of health. We do lots of activities damaging our health, using our life to exchange to some happy things. Okay, let me put it this way. So most of the health suggestions, advices are actually it's kind of anti the human intuition. So it's not a very, very good commercial product. This goes back to our earlier topic about the insurance stuff. So how can you actually change the human behavior that make people from relatively, let me put it this way, short-seeing people to plan for longer, to have a longer plan that is will beneficial in a long run, rather than I just want to have some happiness for now, right? So I think this is the transition point. So I think basically what I would say is the technology is ready. The cost is not that high now, but the key is, do we have something that will actually drive people to think in another way? So that's the commercialization, the hard part. Well, I would say that like 5 years ago, this is an example. 5 years ago, when the China mainland Chinese people, they still are kind of enthusiastic about real estate investment, for example. So we have a very special package that is a company with a housing privilege. So if you buy that specific apartment or specific house, you will have a very, very long time rights for the what we call the digital healthcare service. So people would buy that house to have that digital service. So in the future, probably when they will realize the value of the personalized healthcare, at that time they will buy the digitized healthcare service to get that house. That's a different angle. But it's always a trade-off. But still, again, as I said, it's the shift of the public mindset. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think we're out of time now. I know everyone's been very strict on timing today, so I would like to thank our panelists, Yingrui and Peter, for a fascinating discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.